How's everybody doing today? This is Joshua Carmona with Score. And let's get ready to go. Welcome to today's Jumpstart Business Webinar series. And we'll be discussing today simplifying scheduling and boosting efficiency. Basically how to integrate something like Calendly into a campaign in ScoreCEO. So you can either you can have them give you their information from a form, and then that form can take them to a Calendly page, which you can set up yourself. They have free subscriptions as well. And you can do this with appointment-let or fundamentally any calendaring software out there that you feel comfortable with or you already have a subscription to. But what you can do is automate the appointment scheduling of that, either from within a campaign or taking them directly to the Calendly link after they've inputted information that takes them to that as a new contact or lead into ScoreCEO. I hope if you have any questions, and you will, feel free to type them immediately into the chat, and Jasmine will field those questions with me as we go along. Today, Kate will not be with us on the call today, but Jasmine is filling in for Kate. So thank you very much for that last minute fill-in, Jasmine.
No problem. That's what I'm here for.
And as you can see, we didn't edit that slide correctly, but that's Jasmine. All of you probably know her because you've seen her and talked to her on a daily basis. She's our customer excellence manager. So she basically manages everything that's consumer or customer care related and customer service related, as well as dispute related as well. Thank you, Jasmine, for being on the call today. Having said that, let's jump right in because we've got a lot to discuss. I decided this week to go ahead and map out the funnel for you. I've gotten a lot of questions on the way we're displaying that within Excel, and we can go ahead and map out those funnels for you as well for future reference. But this is the funnel that we'll be creating today. We're going to basically fill in a web form that we've produced in ScoreCEO. We're going with that. When we created that web form, we're going to apply a tag upon submission. We're going to automatically enroll the campaign into a tag-based enroll the customer because of that tag into a tag-based campaign. Within that tag-based campaign, we're going to send out an appointment email from Calendly, and we're going to remove that tag the next day. So on day 0, which is immediately, we're going to send out an email when a customer fills in a form, and we're going to send an email out to them for them to click on that email, and then a day later it will remove that tag, so it unenrolls the customer from that campaign automatically. And that is the last step, and then the customer is unenrolled. Having said that, we've got a variation in this campaign whereby when the customer fills out the form, we're configuring the form to go ahead and on the return URL. That means upon a successful submission of that form, the form will take them to a landing page. And we've defined Calendly as that landing page. So even though they're going to get an email with a link in it, they're also going to be redirected to the form page. So if they don't fill in or fill out the scheduled appointment right there, they'll get another email that'll cue them to do so. If that makes sense, do I have any questions here as to the logic of this campaign? Jazz, anybody? I'm not monitoring the questions. Do you know if we have any questions?
No, not as of yet. I don't see anyone typing. So I think you could keep on going.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to create, basically we're going to create a web form, and I'll show you how I've created that web form in ScoreCEO. We're going to create a tag within the web form. We're also going to create a tag that we've created in the BK test portal for Calendly, funnel 1 tag. We're also going to tie that tag and create a tag-based campaign. And on step 1, we're going to create an email on day 0, and then we're going to show you where and how I create emails pretty quickly, and I can show you how I do that in ChatGPT. And then step 2, remove a tag on day 1. Okay, so on day 1, so basically we enroll them into the campaign, send out an email with the Calendly link, and then we're going to remove the tag so that the campaign finishes. In the interim, they were already redirected to the campaign link anyway. So we've got 2 opportunities to try to get the customer to go ahead and create their appointment with you. And I'll show you how that appointment is created within your Outlook calendar also. Questions until now? Awesome. So let's get to it.
There's one question in the chat.
Shoot.
It says, is there any reason why another calendar couldn't be used, such as a Zoom calendar?
You can use any calendaring tool that provides you with a URL-based link. And I don't know any of them that do not provide that. So you can use this with Calendly, with Setmore, with Appointment-Let, with Zoom calendaring as well. As long as you have that link that you can redirect to, you're good to go. Does that make sense?
Yes, they understood.
So basically anything that has a calendaring tool that has a link is usable. And I would say to be fair, and I don't know these numbers, don't quote me on the percentages, just to say, I'd say over 95% of them have link-based controls. Thank you for that question. Are there any other questions?
Not as of right now.
So let's get right to it. Let's go ahead and look at how to create our web form with a tag. And I'll go through the steps, but I've already created and tested these forms. And but I'll show you how to do that. You'll basically go to referrals. Then you go to form snippet. And then from form snippets, you create new. In this case, we already have a test Calendly funnel, but let's go ahead and just edit this funnel, or edit this form that I've created. Within the form, we're going to choose the web to lead form type. On the form name, we're going to give it a name that's consistent. And I would suggest that's consistent with the tag. So because you'll have tags and you'll have campaigns, and then you won't be able to understand what tag does what based on the campaign. So a quick hack here is to go ahead and just make sure that the tag is contained within the form name so that you can correlate it for future use. When you create your first form, that's not as palpable as it is in its complexity, but when you have 50 or 60 forms over time, it'll take you a bit to go ahead and understand which form name and which tag name have to be matched together at some point in time. So take that as a quick hack there. We want to go ahead, and if you see here, we've added in the return URL, we've added the Calendly link to my calendar. Now, this is Brian Blackmore's portal. As I said, we've asked for permission from Brian to use his portal, and we demo a lot of things from within this portal. And one of the things that you'll see is that I'm using my Calendly because I don't have Brian's Calendly available to me at this time. But on the error URL, if it fails, it'll take them back to the BK Credits Consultants failed page. Okay, so basically, when the form is filled out, the first and it passes, it goes through a successful submission, it'll then redirect the online customer or contact to the following website, which is the Calendly link, which takes them to the scheduling process. You can select the payment model plan if you want by default. You can select a partner to be tied to this form as well. That means an affiliate referral partner. You can allow the new lead nurturing to campaign to simultaneously fire off if you wish to do so. By default, it's unselected. So that means that, just think about it. You can have these forms that you're creating, and every form that you can have, you have to embed it somewhere, right? And let's say this form, you embed it on a website, or you will give it to your web developer to place on the website. The code that you would give that customer is all of this code. Once you've saved the form, it creates this code, and you can give this code, and this is stripped down HTML code, and you can give it to your web developer, and they'll go ahead and make a nice, beautiful form that'll be consistent with the look and feel that you have within your website. You can also enable reCAPTCHA, and once again, in order for you to enable reCAPTCHA on these, you have to be ready to enter the site key and all of the Google reCAPTCHA information that version 3 requires. If you have any doubts on how to do that, just let's go ahead and type it into the chat, and maybe Jasmine, we can set up a call to help our customers, or maybe create a small webinar on how to enable Google reCAPTCHAs for all of our customers. I think that's a good topic to touch. This is so that you're not consistently spammed. This is a big thing. If you're being consistently spammed, it's because you probably don't have a reCAPTCHA process, and you don't have a way to sort through the bad leads. Right? If you the trolls out there on the internet will sniff that out, and eventually this will happen. It's happened to some of our customers, and we've enabled gotten their reCAPTCHAs, helped them get their reCAPTCHAs done, and then enable that on new forms that we've created for them, and they've gone ahead and they've been able to stop that spamming process. Any questions till now? Awesome. One of the other things that we'll be doing on this form is at the bottom of the form, and I know a lot of you were accustomed to seeing this part of a web form in the past, but don't let just go ahead and scroll down, because at the bottom of the page on a form, you now have the ability to add a tag on a form. This is really powerful, because if you created that, if you take that tag and you bind it or you connect it to a campaign through a tag-based campaign, you can create either automation, you can create an email nurturing campaign, or an email marketing campaign, or a transactional email campaign. You can do many things with this form. You can also remove tags. Let's say you created a landing page, and in that landing page you have a form that has this code embedded into it. If you have a remove tag, maybe you already know that it's not a lead anymore, and maybe you had a special lead nurturing campaign that you had created. You can remove that from automatically as soon as they opt into that to that form, or they fill out that form and submit the information within that form. Does that make sense? You can ask questions if you need to. Awesome. So let's go. The first thing we wanted to do was create this form. You would then save this form. And then to test these forms, I've gotten this asked many, many times. How do I test it without embedding it? How do I know it works? You can go ahead and save as HTML. When you save this as an HTML form, okay, you can see it. Let me see if I can minimize this page here. You can go ahead and just click on the snippet that you've downloaded, and then you get the crude HTML form. Now, and this is what I wanted to I want to show all of you this, because this is the way you test your form. You can go ahead and let's call this Jasmine 1 test 1. Let's give it a fake email. Give it a fake phone number and a real zip code. And let's hit submit. When we submit that, let's look and see what happens. Immediately, Calendly, remember what we said, it will redirect me to the calendar page. but at the same time, it's going to add me as a contact into ScoreCEO for BK Credit's portal. In addition to that, it's added since the form is adding a tag, that tag is triggering a campaign that says when somebody or a contact, any contact type, either a customer or a lead, has that tag applied to it, then bind them to the fire off the campaign. So there, two things are happening here. So if I want to go ahead here and schedule the call, let's schedule the 3 o'clock call and hit next. Let me type a bogus email here. And just some information and schedule the event. Now you configure your Calendly portal the way you choose to do so, right? But it says you're scheduled. Let's see what happened now. This is the end of this funnel, but there should be an email that was sent to Joshua Carmona, right? And it should have booked that on my Outlook calendar, which my Calendly is connected to that. And then if I haven't booked the call, I'll have the opportunity further to look at my email and go ahead and reschedule that again. Let's take a look at what happened there. Let's log into BK Credit's portal. Sorry about that. That's what happens when you log in twice on the same browser. So let's go and see. The first thing that we did was we created the form and we showed you how to create that form. Let's check the new leads and customers. We can go to leads and customers to see any new leads and customers, or we can go to just a new lead widget and it would give us that same view. As you can see, Jasmine 1 test 1 was added. Let's see what tags Jasmine 1 has. She's been tagged automatically with test Calendly funnel 1 tag, test tag for webinar, right? So that worked well. Let's look at the campaign to see if it's been created for her. So if we look at the active campaigns, the first, and this is one of those active campaigns that she's been subscribed to. And now we've got an email and it's pending because I put in a fake email, right? But if I go to the view of the email, I can see what email was sent out. And this customer, if they click on this link, it will take them to that link as well. So these are ways that you can test this within the portal to see if it's working. Okay, so all of these links are working within the emails. The email was sent, and the customer should have scheduled an appointment. Let's go ahead into my calendar, and let's see if the 3 o'clock booking was taken here. So 3 o'clock, let's open this event. And yes, this was the 3 o'clock call, the 3 o'clock test 23 appointment that we scheduled automatically. Does anybody have any questions till now?
No questions.
No questions. So that's all I've got for you today. I thought you were going to have a lot more questions here. Do you have any other questions on how to create tags, how to create templates, how to create?
We have someone writing in the chat. Can you show them the layout that you did inside of the campaign, since you showed us how you set it up, but we didn't look at the campaign. So if you could just show us the layout.
Let's go to the tag-based campaign, which is this one right here. Let's edit that campaign. And let's go to next. So let's actually, yeah, this is it. I just wanted to ensure that this was it. Okay, let's edit this campaign. We're gonna once again remember when titling your campaigns, you want to title them similar to the tags. If you're going to use a tag-based campaign, you want to have something that you can really search on and understand, right? The system category, I set it up as a system campaign. It's all the status is start because it's actually running. Anybody that would be tagged in this database right now with this campaign would be enrolled into this campaign. So it started. If I were to pause it, the status would be paused since we're editing, right? And when I selected what type of campaign type, I selected a tag list. Important, right? So when the tag list is selected, which is the one I'm creating right now, okay, it's going to fire off this campaign. And then there's a description of that here. And that's something that you can just be creative to enter something that's useful for you and your personnel, right? So let's go to the next step. Here I selected the campaign. Now, if you didn't have that campaign created, you want to go ahead and you can click on the plus button and you can create a campaign. But we don't need to do that. We had already created the campaign, and we created it through going through the tag manager before the call and creating that tag. Or you can just click on the button here, search, and add one of the existing campaigns. And as you can see, we selected tag Calendly funnel 1 tag, which is this one here. If I want to delete that tag and add that tag, I can do so. It's up to you, right? If we go to next, we can see now our steps. On step 1, we created an email-based campaign, but you can create to-dos, text messages, canned notes, apply a tag or remove a tag. And once again, text messaging right now is on hold, even though it's available to everybody. And it's because we're changing suppliers from one email provider to another. We're probably going to move away from TextBridge and TextBetter, and we're probably going to reintegrate with Mailgun or both of them. It depends on conversations with TextBetter and just implementing it with Mailgun, which is a Cinch company, which is, by the way, the same company that manages all of our transactional email and all of your transactional email when you guys set up your accounts with Mailgun at the beginning of your experience. As you can see, we set it to day 0. We chose to put the CRO admin as it would come from. This is who the email is directed from. We can go ahead and say the salesperson or the CRO admin. It just depends on how complicated your structure is in your business. If we want to send it to everyone, that means it'll go out to both contact types, leads and consumers, right? And then we want to select, we want to either edit and create the template here if we don't have it, or we can view the template and edit the template if we had already selected the template, because we were editing. As you can see, we created a quick email, right? And I'll show you guys in a minute how we did that in ChatGPT in about 5 minutes. And it created great contact with both tone and tense, and conversational tones and tense. So this is just I added a different way of creating emails quickly. I added a link here that takes the customer directly to the link as well. Okay, so the lead or the customer will have an opportunity to schedule that call with you within Calendly, and therefore Calendly will talk back to your Outlook or Gmail or Google email account or whatever email account you have that connects to Calendly. They'll go, or any of your calendar providers, which is normally Office 365 or Gmail, amongst others. But those are the 2 most common ones, right? So that's step 1. If you want to create the template by default, you just click from scratch. You can just click the plus button, and then you can go ahead and you're going to create an email. When you create user types, go straight down to general template category for tag-based campaigns. Give it a name, and you can create a name, give it a description, give it a subject line matter. By the way, in ChatGPT, when I created that email, it went ahead and I asked also for the subject line matter. And then in the body, I just copy and paste that email in there, or just freely create it. If I want to insert variables, I can just click on within the body. If I wanted to click on, I go to this pencil button and it'll show me all of the variables that I can insert from ScoreCEO into my template. So if I wanted to say, dear Joshua, right? So I would look for maybe consumer first name, right? And I'm going to close that and it adds it here. And I'll just right before that, just type in dear space, customer name with a comma after it. Enter more information. And I can I can use variables that are listed here that are static variables. Any dynamic variables will probably not be there, but you'll have a lot of things that you can do and based on the variables or who it's coming from. Maybe it's coming from the referral agent or this email, or it's coming from the salesperson. You can choose to enter that information as well. Have we had, Jasmine, has everybody had the opportunity to work with the template editor and enter and create and use variables and understand how to populate all of the header information, when to choose a different template group when creating and why? If everybody is more than half of you answer no, if you're not familiar with that, Jasmine, let's make that a topic for our next webinar, please. That's very important.
Okay. Well, we did have a question that was.
But before we move on, sorry to interrupt you. Did the person that added that asked that question, was that question answered for you?
No, not the question, not yet.
Okay, so this is the campaign itself. The next step on the campaign is to, on day 0, which is immediately, where the customer is being enrolled into this campaign, and that this template is going out to the customer that's being enrolled in the campaign. Okay. After that happens the following day, which is day 1, we're choosing the step type of removing a tag, and we're actually removing the same tag that we had applied to it so that it unenrolls this contact from the campaign. So they get an email for them to click and they're delivered an email. And then after that, a day later, we're removing the tag so that it removes them from this campaign and it completes the campaign for that customer. Does that make sense now?
Yes, everyone's gotten it. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So let me, what was the other question that you had for me, Jasmine?
So they had a question that if someone missed the meeting, can the campaign send them an email to reschedule?
Absolutely. That's a function of Calendly or the company that you're going to use instead of Calendly. That's normally, they'll have reminder campaigns and they'll have reschedule campaigns as well. But I've got to warn you, sometimes those follow-up tools, depending on the calendaring tool, may be a paid version of the subscription of this software. So if you have a paid version, you in Calendly, you may be able to use more than one link at a time or something like that, or maybe take away the branding and so that it's not there. There's another tool called Applet, which I'm going to be, is it Applet? Appointment. Here it is. So this is this is Appointlet. This is a very aggressive new competitor out there. They do a lot of new things, different things, and they have a comparison page. But their calendar integrations, we can see them here. And they're doing Google Calendar and 365, like I mentioned earlier, right? They've got a bunch of other integrations as well. Let's look at video conferencing software. So somebody asked me about Zoom. They integrate through Zoom as well, and Microsoft Teams, as well as Google Meet. So I would say for the calendaring and follow-up features, you may want to look for a tool that provides that for you. If you want to do it in ScoreCEO, maybe what you want to do is create a inside the campaign, right? Let's go back to this campaign. And maybe you want to add a task at the end of the in the campaign to create and let's go back here. Maybe you want to go ahead and add a different step to add for example, a to-do, right? Let's go ahead and add a to-do on day 0 as well, right? And then create follow-up call with contact. And now you can go ahead and create a title, and this will create a to-do that will add that to your calendar within Score for you to follow up. And you can even do that recurring if you want it for a week or for 2 weeks or whatever, and you can do that within Score as well. That would be the way I would recommend to edit your campaign to help you do that. But before you do to-dos, make sure you look at your calendaring campaign, because you can combine that campaign with your campaign, and you might not have to create all those emails within ScoreCEO, because they normally have templated emails regarding no-shows. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Any other questions that we may have?
Nope, no one has asked any other questions.
So before we go to ChatGPT, let me go back to the presentation. What type of how can you vary that campaign to make it more or less complex depending on your sales process? Here are a few of ideas, right? You want to add more reminder emails. Maybe those reminder emails that you want to add is 1 a day. So maybe on the campaign you add more steps with more emails every other day or every day after that for the first 4 or 5 days and you can gauge that depending on your customer feedback. If you see that if you're contacting them, every day and they're opting out, which because they do have well, then maybe you want to gauge back on that, right? And maybe do it every 2 days or every 3 days, depending on the frequency that customers seem to stay on without unsubscribing. You want to add maybe a campaign before removing the contact from the campaign. And the way you add the contact to another campaign is through tags, right? You can always, or a campaign list. You can always, and let me show you how that's done. You can always go back to this here, and you can add a step that is instead of adding an email, you can go ahead and apply another tag, and that could be another tag to fire off a campaign for that customer. Does that make sense? You can create canned notes as well to go after every step so that you can monitor in notes, first email sent, third email sent. And if you want to monitor that in more than one place, you can do that as well. But if you apply you can apply a tag to add another customer to another campaign that is tied back to another tag-based campaign and is triggered by that tag. Does that make sense? These are ways that you can create campaigns through tag-based campaigns that link to one another, so they can go from one campaign to the next campaign, depending on your strategy. Any other questions? Okay, so let's go back to the campaign variations here. We can add to do for the contact phone follow-up, right? So you can create a task for let's say a salesperson or yourself to go ahead and create a follow-up call, whether they're unenrolled or not. Once if that step happens prior to the removal of the tag, so that it unenrolls them, it will create that to-do, and that to-do remains there until you either removed it and marked it as complete, right? You can send reminder SMS messages. Once you have SMS active in your portal with your provider, you can go after every email. You can send a text message saying, please check your email. We've sent some valuable information for you, or something like that. It's normal. SMS is normally used to engage or inspire, right? So you want to go ahead and take that SMS message and drive them towards your content, towards what you want them to do, that sort of thing. You can also, and I mentioned this earlier, add notes, right, that are significant to the steps to track progress in notes if you want to. If you don't want to do that, don't worry. You've got a way to track that as well. If we go back to leads and consumers, and I think I did this before earlier, if you want to look at, for example, at Jasmine Test 1, and you want to see what campaigns she's in, just go to campaigns and you can see the active campaigns. You can see her completed campaigns. You can see her pending campaigns. Pending campaigns normally are campaigns that from within our system, if your customer has opted out to certain types of campaign categories, the system will send, it doesn't mean that they won't be enrolled into the campaign, but what it will do is that if they don't have the ability or the permission to send emails based on that type of category email, they'll go ahead and ask for permission to the client, to the lead or the customer, and it'll fall in pending until the customer doesn't agree, or what we call a double opt-in by clicking on a link. It's a system email. It won't remove itself from pending. It will go ahead and keep there until the customer clicks on the link, and once it does that, it makes them active. If not, they stay in pending. And you can either you can remove them or re-execute that step if you need to. And all campaigns would be every single campaign out there. As you can see, these are campaigns that the customer right now is subscribed to. Okay, if we go to this campaign here, and we go to the detail of the campaign, which is the one that we created, it's going to let me know what steps are in, what the timing, and when they're scheduled to run. So there's a day between one step and the other. Step 1 fires off on the 25th, which is today, immediately. Okay, and then it fires off, fires a remove tag tomorrow. So you can always add or remove more steps if you need to the campaign. Any other questions that you may have?
No more questions as of right now.
Okay. So that today we've cut it short. Next week, Jasmine, what do we have planned for everyone on next week's webinar?
It was the integration with QuickBooks.
Okay, so let's cover integration with QuickBooks, and let's also cover, and that one Kate will be on. She'll show you how Kate has integrated QuickBooks to the point where she is sending all of the invoices on a daily basis through export to QuickBooks and importing them into QuickBooks. And she's also created reconciliation of payments as well. So both the invoices and the payments are reconciled. But I don't know if she'll have time to cover both on the call, but she'll definitely have enough time to cover how to send your transactions directly into QuickBooks so you can sustain a QuickBooks accounting up to date. Let's go ahead and in that webinar, Jasmine, let's also cover how to create and edit templates in there, and we'll have either you or Kate go ahead and cover that, or myself as well. That's going to be a bit longer, so be prepared to be the whole hour on that webinar, everyone.
Tim had a question if we had any webinars on billing. And
on billing webinars, I think that's a question for you.
Yep, no, not yet. Not yet, Tim. We haven't had one just focused on ScoreCEO's billing area, which that would be a great topic to teach you guys the complete functionality of it.
Does everybody agree does everybody want to acquire that information? And we can probably discuss billing in more than one payment model plan type, like not only monthly, but pay per delete as well.
Yes, I think that's a
Jasmine?
good idea. Yes.
Okay, so let's cover in that invoicing on another webinar, maybe after this webinar, but definitely we can cover that unless Jasmine creates one separately for our educational portal on ScoreCEO prior to that. So just to review, remember that you should, what I'd like you guys to do, I know you guys are creating appointments with your customers consistently. And in order for them to be able to for you to create a funnel, I'd like to see, and you guys can go ahead and contact me. Jasmine, type in my email into the chat, right? And if you not, just schedule a call with me. I've been scheduling calls with a lot of you that have just went ahead and taken the advantage of this opportunity, so we can both really talk shop. And a lot of you have gained a lot of clarity, learned a lot, understood more capability. But I'd like to see if you guys can implement this on your own and then ask more questions about that. If once again, if you need us to go ahead and create a subset of campaigns because you just don't have the time to do that, reach out to me by booking a call with me. Jasmine, you want to post that link into the chat, because I can help you. I can help you in that regards. And if it's a lot, we can go ahead and give you a price to go ahead and create your sales funnels for you, your inbound strategy funnels, your customer service or customer excellence funnels, your continuous contact funnels, anything that you want, your customer nurturing campaigns, your newly nurturing campaigns, anything that you want to do in ScoreCEO that we can do for you. Thank you. If we don't
That
have any
sounds
other
great.
questions, yeah. Do we have any other last questions? I've got another 15 minutes, but if you guys don't have any questions, you can have 15 minutes back in your day, because I think I've taken a bunch of your time in the previous webinars.
So as of right now, we don't have any other questions. They just say thank you, and that the information is insightful, and that's about it. So
Thank you. Have a
thank you
great day,
everybody for
everyone,
tuning
and
in.
we'll see each other next week.
Bye, guys.